Nintendo is cooking. They're cooking up a major lawsuit and they are ready to strike with the force of 1,000 ants. You might not think that sounds like a lot, but just try to have 1,000 ants crawl on your body and then come back and tell me how it feels. Good morning, Mario, and good morning, Switch fan. Nintendo is out in total force, ready to strike down you. Zoo, don't worry, you're okay. And the zoo is okay as well. It's actually Yuzu, the emulator. We need to talk about their lawsuit and how that's going to go down, what it's impacting, and the crazy numbers that Yuzu actually put up before Nintendo decided to take action. It's pretty remarkable. Plus, we've got other Nintendo Switch news, including patches that do nothing, Sonic, Mario, and more. So what's going on, everybody? It's Arkham SwitchForce. Hope you're all having a fantastic day. If you were asleep yesterday, busy yesterday, and missed all the Pokemon Presents coverage, the new Pokemon ZA Legends game, and my reaction, response, and what it means for the rest of 2024 for Nintendo Switch titles, definitely check out yesterday's videos. If you're new here, that's a great place to start. In the meantime, though, let's kick it off with a little bit of Sonic action. Sega talks about how Sonic did not perform as well as they intended for Sonic Superstars, and they say it's because they released it near another game in the genre. That would be Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Sega, genius, way to go. Not to really shade them too much, but actually to shade them kind of a bit. How did they think this was going to work out? During their investors call, they talk about how releasing Sonic Superstars next to Mario Wonder probably wasn't the best idea. Sometimes these companies, man, like, I understand things are hard, it's difficult, business is tough, but you got to make smart moves. And I feel like a lot of these companies don't make smart moves and then act very surprised when things don't work out. And it's like, man, you and me, like literally you and me, we could have picked that. We could have predicted that. We could have told them, no, don't do that. They say that they have a better strategy for Sonic Shadow Generation, so hopefully that game is able to perform well. We don't want to see games fail, obviously, as we know the industry, studios, publishers already have tons of trouble with layoffs and losing money. So sorry, Sonic, but next time don't release near Mario. Now, Batman Arkham Trilogy is a game that was much anticipated for Nintendo Switch until it came out and wasn't all that great. It was rivaling Pokemon Scarlet and Violet in terms of like, holy crap, this performance is so bad. How did this get approved? At the same time, though, I do think like the games are still fun, and especially Arkham Asylum is still really good on Nintendo Switch. Arkham Knight in particular does run poopy and wasn't really a great experience for me, but they dropped a 16 gigabyte patch yesterday that does nothing. Players are reporting that the patch has changed nothing, boosted the performance in no significant ways, so not sure what was really in that 16 gigabytes. Maybe it was just 16 gigabytes of nonsense to make it seem like they did major work, but it seems like they didn't. And I still hold that it's like not worth it for the 3 games that you get, because the third game, the newest game, doesn't run very well. But if you can consider it as a 2-game package and you can get it on sale, Asylum plays great and City plays fine enough. I think those two are still really cool portably, and I'm glad to have them on a Nintendo Switch system. It's a bit glass half full, glass half empty type outlook there, but yeah, 16 gigabytes. How did he not fix this? Nintendo only strikes when they're sure of it, and they only strike when they really get riled up. Nintendo was not angered by Pal World. A bunch of people thought like, oh my gosh, Nintendo could never let this continue. It's ripping off Pokemon. Nintendo was like, we protect our IP, just trust us. They told investors like, if our Pokemon IP is being infringed upon, don't worry, we'll take action. They didn't take action. The only time they took action was when someone made a mod directly putting their Pokemon characters into Pal World. Then they said, no, we're shutting that down. But now Nintendo is attempting to not only shut down the Yuzu emulation, but also sue Yuzu themselves. Now, Yuzu is an emulator for Switch, allowing you to illegally play Nintendo Switch games and often play them before they release. And what's crazy about this is that in their filing, Nintendo obviously talks about their reasons, which we'll get to, but I want to lead with the crazy part, which is that Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom was pirated over 1 million times before the game even came out. That is a ton of copies, a ton of players, and as Nintendo notes, a ton of spoilers. Not only does that impact their dollars and their sales, but it impacts their mindshare as well, as many spoilers came out online affecting, as they state, the experience players got when the game finally released and they were able to buy it legitimately from Nintendo themselves. Nintendo says that Yuzu has negatively affected their brand, illegally bypassed their software encryption, and caused direct harm to their game sales. So they are saying this is over. They are done with this, fed up with this, and I think it is the right timing. We know that Nintendo is planning to launch a Switch 2 in now 2025, and one of the things that they've been very big on is locking down their systems and making sure that they shut down this Yuzu emulator before they release a Nintendo Switch 2, before Switch 2 stuff comes out, before Yuzu has a chance to go in and find decryption keys and make it work for Switch 2, they gotta say, you're done for. So they are not only seeking to have the Yuzu emulator shut down permanently, but they're also seeking damages for the losses that they feel that they incurred from not having as many game sales. And when we're talking about 1 million copies of Tears of the Kingdom before it even launched, that is a lot of dough. 1 million times 70, you can do that math, that's $70 million. Plus, how many times was that game pirated after it came out, beyond release date, when it was probably easier to seek out and easier to find on the interwebs? Yuzu obviously has been used for many other games, so if you add them all together, there's millions of pieces of software that Nintendo feels they could have earned. Now, I will say, like, people that pirate usually would buy the game, but not always would buy the game, so it's not one-to-one, but nonetheless, Nintendo is making a massive push, and they're going to put their full weight behind this because they don't want copycats. They don't want clones. They don't want someone else just to step forward and do this for the current Switch 1, or again, for the next Nintendo Switch 2. Now, an actual attorney, a legal person of knowledge, has spoken on this topic. They talked with The Verge. This was Richard Hogue, saying that they think Nintendo has a good chance to find success here. Quote, "The important thing is that Nintendo is bringing the case as a DMCA circumvention claim. There is a real chance for them to win as the court tests things like the effectiveness of the measure and just how the emulator was created." Now, there is another side to this coin and to this story, which is that some feel that emulation should not be targeted in this way. Emulation, at its core, if you have the game, is not illegal, but we have to imagine that most of the 1 million copies of Tears of the Kingdom that came out before the game came out were being acquired illegally, in the way that they did not have the actual cartridge and then the emulation. Now, I know emulation is a soft spot for some, especially in terms of the preservation of games, and especially in terms of retro games and being able to access titles that companies don't make currently available. And there are some that are championing Yuzu and saying, hey, Yuzu is a great company here. They make over $30,000 via their Patreon each month, so they have a lot of supporters, and they upgrade Nintendo Switch games, allowing you to run things at 4K, 60 FPS. They are a great emulator, and they are doing a great service. That is what some will say, and they do not want to see Nintendo lock this down because it spells bad news for emulation as a whole. Emulation as just a way of keeping games going, and emulation as a way of making sure that these companies can't just lock everything down and that there is still public access. I do see both sides of the story, but I also see how 1 million copies of Tears of the Kingdom before the game comes out is not okay in any way and does not serve the true purpose of emulation. You have this issue where people are pushing the limits on emulation, and that is causing the backlash. So should those who don't push it have the punishment fall on them as well, or should nobody be punished even though it's being pushed? I guess this is a case that will eventually be decided in court. I believe Yuzu has 21 days to respond, and then from there, it'll go as it will. We'll see what happens, and we'll see if Nintendo is able to win this one, as they do attempt to shut down emulation for better or for worse. I'd love to know your take in the comments down below, and if you feel strongly like, hey, this should be allowed to exist, or this should not be allowed to exist, I'd love to hear your take. I've never been one who felt like super crazy about emulation. I do know that like illegally pirating games is not right, but I also see the side of preservation. So how do you feel about this one, and how do you feel about Nintendo really aggressively going after them and putting forth a bunch of statements saying like, we're coming for you, we're not only coming for the shutdown, but we're coming for retribution. We want to get money back from the game sales that we've lost because of you. Zoo. Let me know your take in the comments down below, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, stay happy, stay positive out there. Love you lots. SwitchForce out.